Okay, here we go. So you are going to be making a laser cut earbud holder similar to this one. I'm going to show you how to make a square one, but I'll walk you through how you're exactly going to make your cut the part out of a little piece of wood. This is actually, it looks like a little piece of plywood. And so you'll be able to make the settings in this in our laser cutting software to make one of these on your own. Look, you can see somebody else has it listed for $5.13 plus shipping. So you could get paid by learning what you're about to learn right now. So you're going to close it out, and we're going to open up a software called RDworks V8. Okay, so if you don't see it on your desktop, which you probably don't, you're going to have to go to this PC, and then your C drive, you'll see a little C there, and then look for the folder that says RDworks V8. If it's not right in here, you should see it under Program Files or Program Files x86. So you should either see it under C or in one of these. So you're going to hit RDworks V8, and you'll have to scroll down until you see the file extension that says EXE. Okay, see where it says EXE? Click on that guy, and then it opens up our laser cutting software. All right, so now we have our Boss Laser software, and we have our anything in here with this graph paper inside is where we can do our cuts. So I'm going to start off with a just a straight rectangle, okay, and click our rectangle. It's really similar to Autodesk in that way, and you have a rectangle, okay. And so our first layer here, our first cut here, you can see that it is 400 or 300, almost 400 millimeters. Well, I've told you in the instructions that it has to be 3 inches by 3 inches, right? So you're going to have to go and convert inches to millimeters. So we can just open up Google and we can say, 3 inches to millimeters, and Google has a great tool where it will actually convert it to you for you instantly. So 76.2 millimeters. So we're going to say 76.2 and then 76.2. Okay, and that might look really small, but the bed that we're doing our laser cutting on is actually really large. So we'll just zoom in here, and this is the largest that you can make your object. Okay, your bud holder. So I'm going to put some notches in the side, and the way we can do that, if you want round if you want round edges, what you can do is actually I'm going to make mine a circle, and by holding Shift and then starting your circle, all right, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to actually start my circle. Forget about holding Shift. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. So let's hold Shift, and I want to center it on that line, and I'm going to make it like a little edge there. Okay, so I'm going to cut that out, and then I'm going to do another one over here. So I'm going to select that, and you can actually hit the mirror tool, and then you should have another one right there. Oh, or you can copy and paste it. I'm still learning this software myself, so okay, so now I've got my two cut lines going that way, and if I cut along the outside of my edge here, it's going to cut through. It's going to cut through where I have the two ellipses. So this will end up actually being a little notch here. This will end up being a little notch. And once I cut this out, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about as far as the notches. And then I'm going to go do one at the top. I'm going to hold the Shift button down. Okay, got a little notch there. And then I want my shape at the bottom to be exactly the same. So I'm going to hit copy and paste. You could probably right click. I use the quick keys Control C, Control C, Control V, and it copies and pastes it. And so now I have my lines, all the lines that I want to cut. And so you'll notice over here on the left, it has a blue cut line. And if I start selecting all these guys, okay, if I select everything all at once, I want all of these to cut. So I'm going to hit Control A, and it's going to select all of those cuts. You see how everything is selected there? and I can assign it to blue, and you see how it's blue now, and all those lines are blue. That means it's lining up with my cut settings for blue. So I can double click on cut settings, and it's going to pull up all of my power settings here. Well, for the wood that we're cutting through, if we cut through it at a speed of 300 millimeters per second, that's pretty fast for our machine, especially if we're trying to cut through. So we need to actually cut that down for the wood that we're cutting to about 20 millimeters per second. And the wood, with how thick the wood that we're going to cut, we're actually going to cut it through at 80% power on our laser cutter. So we're going to change all of our power settings to 80%. Okay, so 80% of the maximum power of the machine. So speed 20%, and then 80%, and that's because we want it to cut through. This is going to cut all the way through the wood. So if you want to engrave something and not cut all the way through the wood, don't use these settings. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Okay, so then I'm going to have my, I'm going to put some text in there. I'm going to use my text function. Okay, put my little text in there, and that was an old one I did. I'm going to say that this is Mr. Actually, I'm going to write Captain Awesome. Okay, and I can change my fonts in here. I can say I don't want Tahoma. Let's go. Oh, there's some good ones up there, like Swiss. Okay, so Swiss black. Awesome. We're gonna get that in there. All right. Okay, so right now I don't have a second layer of cut setting. So if you ran it right now, it might actually cut the words Captain Awesome out of the center of my my earbud holder, and that's not really what I want. What I want is for this to get I want this to have a separate setting that's actually engraved. So this is actually a little bit black. It's all cut actually into the wood, but not through the wood. So I'm going to select a different color. So I'm going to assign, say, red to it. And so now you see Captain Awesome is red. That means that I can do different cut settings. So you can see that it's layer red here. And so this speed, I can have it 300, and I can do, 20% power. I might want it a little darker than that. So I'm going to go with 30% power, and you can do 30% power at 300 millimeters a second. And that's going to give me, it's going to give me an outside line. But let's say I wanted this to have, I wanted it to be kind of cut, I wanted it to go all the way across so that the letters are actually filled in. Well, then you wouldn't want a cut setting. You would want to actually change it to scan. Okay, so I'm going to change that to scan, and now it's actually, when I do this, it'll fill the cut settings all the way in. So I'm actually going to do this as separate lines so that I can center both of them. So I'm going to change this to Captain. Okay, and then I'm going to do a new one, and I'm going to change that to, oops, that's not what I want to do. Let's select that same one again. Okay, so then I have Awesome. Okay, so Captain Awesome. And I can leave Awesome. You see how Awesome is red? I've clicked off of it and it's still red. That means it's still going to do that scan setting, which is awesome. Get it? Captain Awesome. Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is maybe I want to engrave just a circle around the edges of it, around Captain Awesome. So I'm going to make that kind of big, and then I'm going to select it. Oh, come on now. Give me that. Okay. And it's not as big as I want. You see how I'm running over the edges, so I can just grab the corners, drag that guy out. Okay, and there we go. That looks good right there. And so this one, I don't want it to be engraved like that. I want to change it to a cut setting. And so I'm going to give it a different color. Okay, so I'm going to give it yellow. And so that one's now yellow. Speed, let's change it to 300, and then we'll do 30% power, which is fine. And that'll just put a nice little line around the edge of it. Okay, so this is actually all done. This is completely done. I could run this. It would cut out the sides of it. The only problem that is going to happen here is that if you look at the order of what I have here as far as what the machine is going to read, it's going to read that cut first. So it's actually going to cut that wood out first. Well, if it's not attached to a bigger piece of wood, it's in danger of falling through the machine. And then when it goes to engrave the Captain Awesome in the middle, there won't be a piece of wood there to engrave. So we want to actually change the order of this. And the way to do it, I think you can just grab and drag it. And now my cut setting is at the end. It's going to engrave first, and then it's going to cut it out. And that way, if it falls off at all, if the wood's not completely level and it falls down a little bit, you don't have to worry about it not cutting the center of it. So you want to always do your ending cut the very last thing that you do. That way, if it does fall down at all, you'll be good to go. Okay, you'll be fine. All right, so I'm gonna upload a final video, a second video of this, of me actually cutting it on the laser cutter to show you how easy it is to get this into the laser cutter and actually get some material in there and cut it. And it's really easy to do. So you can play around with this as much as you want in your RDworks. So hopefully you have a little bit of fun. Thanks for watching.